Hi, Mark here. It is Tuesday, May the 5th, 8:10 a.m. Eastern, 12:10 midday GMT. US session is now underway, going into the afternoon portion of the European session. Let's have a look at the US dollar and the US dollar's performance. Certainly looking to fight its way back from the extreme sell-off that we had 4 days ago. So you can see higher highs, higher lows, three green candlesticks, and US dollar on its way back, struggling around this level, around the mid 98 level to break higher. Yesterday left a wick. Today pushing that little bit higher. We'll see whether buyers can test break above this intraday resistance sitting at 98.45. I've got support at 98.25. As I say, buyers will look to test break above this level, continue this bounce that we're seeing. If we get a turnaround from strong to weak US dollar during the US session, sellers will look to bounce down off this 98.45 and look back down at the 98 support area. Let's have a look at the majors, starting on the Euro US. There you see yesterday's strong sell-off, that's selling euro, buying US dollar strength across the board yesterday. Continued today, but as you can see, giving up some of those gains now. If you look at today's candlestick, if I zoom in on the hourly, there you can see early in the European session, after a push lower and further US dollar strength. Here's the turnaround, buying euro, selling US dollar, and now sitting pretty much in the middle of today's range. I've got support sitting at 116.75. I've got intraday resistance at 116.97. Buyers will look to retest that 117 level or higher, or if we're going to get a continuation of selling euro, buying US dollar, and US dollar strength, sellers will look down at the 116.75 support. Downtrend still in place for now. Let's have a look at the pound. And there you see US dollar giving up some gains, small green candlestick following the previous 2 days of selling pound, buying US dollar, that's US dollar strength. Here you can see the bounce up off support. I've got support at 135.13. I've got intraday resistance at 135.48. If we're going to see a continuation of buying pounds, selling US dollar, that's US dollar weakness, buyers will be looking up at this resistance level or higher and look to reverse this trend. If we're going to see a continuation of selling pound, buying US dollar, and US dollar strength, sellers will be looking down at the 135 support area. US dollar against the yen. Since the very strong sell-off we saw 4 days ago, verbal intervention from the Bank of Japan was enough to see the US yen pair go from 160 all the way down to 155.48. US dollar fighting its way back, even though the downtrend's still in place. I've got support at 157.07, and I've got intraday resistance for now at 157.83. Buyers of US dollar will look to test, fight its way back above the 157.80, looking up at the 159 level on the upside. If we get a continuation of US dollar weakness and yen strength, sellers will look to bounce down off this 157.80 support resistance area, looking back down at the 157 support area. And then the US dollar against the Canadian. There you see the previous 2 days US dollar has been fighting its way back against the strong Canadian. Today, doji-like candlestick pretty much at yesterday's close. I've got resistance at 136.30. US dollar strength. If the US dollar buying demand for US dollars can continue, buyers will look up at that 136.30 or higher, and in so doing, look for the EMAs to cross to the upside. If we get a continuation of the strong downtrend and selling US buying Canadian US dollar weakness, sellers will look down at the 136 support level on the way to pushing lower. Good trading. Keep that discipline. We have resistance and support levels to work with. Bit of a mixed bag with the US dollar today, and we'll see how that plays out now that the US session is underway. Good trading.